Hi, I'm Tracey Soltis.
And I'm Kali Alfaro. And you're listening to the Mind Body Studio, a place for anyone who wants to reach their full potential, thrive, and create a life filled with vitality.
Each week, we'll bring you our expertise, giggles, and a splash of quirky to explore real and relevant topics to help you along your life's journey.
We'll bring you science, psychology, and practicality to real life issues.
So, thanks for listening. We know you're going to love it. Okay, welcome back, everyone.
Welcome, listeners.
Today's amazing topic is going to be about stress management, which is a huge topic, don't you think?
Just a little bit.
I feel like everyone is stressed out and everybody needs a little bit of guidance here on how to actually manage stress. But I think first up, we should probably talk about what is stress. So you must see this all the time in your clinic, people stressed out, right?
Absolutely.
What would be your definition, do you think, of stress?
Well, stress is essentially, don't quote me.
Yeah.
But it's essentially when we perceive that the demands on us are greater than our capacity to deliver that. So if I have too many things to do and not enough time, then I'm going to feel stressed out. So
yeah, and so I guess...
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like the body's way of responding to a threat. And if we look at that from an evolutionary perspective, a threat should be a charging bull or,
saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, dealing with a tiger. But it's not these days. It's completely different.
Well, it depends where you live.
Well,
right? We
that's
could have someone in the jungle listening to us, and maybe they have to. Or in Spain, they're running with the bulls.
I have to say, yes, we are being listened to by people all over the world, which is
cool.
phenomenal.
We love it.
So if you are out there
thank
wrestling
you.
tigers, I'm very sorry that we don't understand that's happening over there for you, and that is a real serious, stressful event. But
in Australia we have so many snakes as well. So
That's
like
true.
when I go bushwalking, I avoid certain months because I get really stressed out with the thought that a snake is going to jump out of the bushes.
or drop bears.
Yeah, totally. Like this is a real thing. When I was hiking in the US, it wasn't snakes. It was mountain tigers or whatever they're called, mountain cats. That's it.
Oh yeah,
And
mountain
bears.
cats and bears.
I couldn't actually have my lunch and relax because I was like, the bear is going to smell the honey or something.
Oh my God.
I'm serious. Like
Okay.
every move was like, oh my gosh, is that a bear?
Look, I feel like we're getting way off topic here because, okay, it's not a normal,
stressful
like
events are
daily,
different.
regular event where we're actually going to be out in the wild where we're going to get, attacked by a bear. So let's just take a step back and think about what are the
city
stressful
wild.
trigger factors that are happening. And that could be anything from getting a really crappy text message. That flares up our fight or flight responses straight away.
Absolutely. So I guess let's go back into nerdy, serious mode. I guess from a psychological and biological perspective, the body responds to stress by activating the survival mechanism. So it makes you pump certain chemicals that are going to make you ready to either fight off the danger or flee the situation. Sometimes we also freeze. So when this is happening all of the time, we are setting off the alarm system in the body consistently and regularly. And this is only designed to get us out of a particular situation, not to be activated throughout the day, all day long. So this leads to adrenal fatigue, this leads to disrupted sleep, inflammation, pain, lots of things, which a lot of people that are under high levels of stress are experiencing. So it's a really pertinent topic to try and understand how we can manage stress, because everyone is exposed to a different level of stress, but it's daily, it's regular.
And it's an individual response as well. So when you're dealing with a similar situation to someone else, your experience could be heightened, or you could have different symptoms pop up than the next person. Some people don't actually show they're very asymptomatic, but it comes out through illnesses down the track. So your experience is very individual. And I'd like to highlight that stress is actually normal. So
it's a good thing.
It is actually a good thing, okay? So it is 100% normal for you to have a stress response, okay? These responses are there to allow you to remove yourself from a stressful situation. So if you're having sweaty palms or upset tummy or heart palpitations or sweating profusely, these are all signs that you need to remove yourself from a situation, or your body is actually telling you that there is a threat. So it doesn't mean that there's a bear or a snake or something else around you. It could be your mental health is struggling. It could be that you're in a situation where you need to remove yourself from a toxic conversation. There's so many different things that your body is actually giving you those little alarm bells, and you need to take notice of those straight away. So
I want to interrupt this with something really important for many of our listeners. So in a lot of the people that I see in my clinic, some people don't feel stressed, right? So some people don't have the heart palpitations, the anxiety, the shortness of breath. And then suddenly something big happens.
yeah.
So as Tracey said, it's a really individual thing. So sometimes one of the things that I get people to do is, if someone was observing you before you had like a blow up, what would be the things that you would be able to pinpoint? Are you slamming doors? Are you biting your lip? Are you being short? Are you suddenly having like tension in your head? Are you pacing? Are you sighing a lot? So I want you to think about, if someone was to observe you, what would they see, right? Because a lot of people are so used to functioning at such a high level of stress that they actually don't realize that they're stressed, because that's their norm.
Yeah, you actually raise a really good point there. And I think it's
right?
Yeah, you do. Oh my gosh, you're so clever. But it is a really good point, because I think these days stress levels are so incredibly high that it just becomes an autopilot type situation. We just go through the processes of life. We're not really in tune with what's happening to our body. We're not listening to the alarm bells. And sometimes it takes a very significant event to happen, an illness and, dare I say, heart attacks and issues like that, where we go, okay, your body was actually giving you all of these warning signs so long ago, but because there were so many external factors going on, you just weren't aware that it was actually there. And then it's given you a very clear communication and very clear signal that, hey, you need to actually pull yourself up and change what you're doing.
You know that MC Hammer song, Stop, Have a Break and Listen?
Yeah.
That applies right now.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sing, because I'm not going to torture our poor listeners.
No, please.
With my terrible
I did
singing.
a lot of singing this morning in the car on the way here.
But stopping, having a break and listening to your body is a really beautiful thing to do. And when we are under stress, I want you to understand that your cognitive capacities are compromised. You can't think logically. You can't problem solve as well. You can't analyze and process information as well. Your memory, your concentration starts to go. So those are also things. Your libido goes out the window. So
your
all
digestion,
of these things,
so many things. Yeah.
So all of these things are signs that your body is just in survival mode. When you are in survival, all of the things that are non-vital to your livelihood, to your essentially your chances of surviving, stop. Right?
Yeah.
So super important to stop, take a break, and listen to your body. Listen to what is going on and figure out how you are feeling within your body. Even just slowing down the way that you're speaking, like I am right now, allows your body to slow down the breathing rate, and that allows you to slow the central nervous system to a much more calmer and relaxed pace. Mm-hmm. And this can just be.
I'm going to nod off.
I know you're like, it's like I'm hypnotizing you. It's like, all right, let's get back on the coffee.
Stop putting your hypnotherapy on me.
But simply stopping and slowing down and really allowing the central nervous system, and sometimes you can just do this with deep breathing, can allow your body to just genuinely calm and refresh, right? And in that way, you are going to be able to see the stressful situation with much clearer eyes, because you're not activating that adrenaline and that cortisol being pumped through your body with that stress level.
Because that comes down to the stress caused to your adrenals. Because if you're constantly pumping out bad hormones, your body's going to stay in that constant state of stress. And sometimes when someone is in that space of exhaustion and burnout, it does take a little while for us to rebalance all of those hormones that have been put out into the body. And so we have to recognize that sometimes these things just take time, and we have to dedicate and commit to ourselves to pause for longer than a day. Sometimes it takes, a couple of days, a week. You might need to have some time off, especially if you're in that complete burnout space. If you want to look after your health, it does come down to taking time out to actually repair and heal. And that can be a slow process over time. So our objective here is to actually prevent you getting to that space, to prevent you to getting to exhaustion and burnout, by making sure that you're regularly checking in with yourself, you're regularly implementing self-care, and you're having adequate sleep and rest and relaxation, as well as doing all of the commitments and things that you have to do in your life. But you're also making sure you're well established within your body, that you're able to self-regulate and self-calm regularly, rather than leaving it till the very last moment, until it's too late. Until then, we have to really stop everything. And that happens quite a lot. I see that quite significantly here in my office, in that people do come in mostly in burnout. I'm usually, they've already been to their doctors, they've already been to other professionals. They can't seem to get a handle of all of these overwhelming things that are happening to them in their everyday life. And they need someone to talk to and to start rebalancing. And so that does take time to happen, because when you've got so many commitments and you've got so many things on your plate, and you get to a point of illness or dis-ease, then we have to work on that quite significantly.
And that's a really great point that you put across, because people want a quick fix, right? So it's important to recognize that we didn't get to the stage that we're at overnight. So you didn't get to the stage of like either being overweight or super fit overnight. It took consistent effort of eating and not exercising, or consistent effort of restricting the type of food and consciously exercising to get to where you are. Yeah. Stress is the same. So when you get to adrenal fatigue, it's not that you've just had it, the last month has been stressful. It's been building up, right? So the body is, goes into these cycles. It's a little bit like the cycles of nature. You don't just have autumn one day. It slowly starts to creep in. The leaves start changing color, the sky starts changing, and then suddenly we're in full autumn, right? So we need to understand that any process, any change that we're going to make takes its own journey, and being kind and patient with yourself when you're making these changes is also your ticket to success. Right?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of the time I have people come into my office and going, okay, look, I'm really stressed. I'm not at the point of burnout, but I don't really know how to or what to do to manage my stress. And for some people, keeping a still mind and doing meditation just isn't achievable, because they've just got so many thoughts going on. It's really difficult for them to keep a calm space and to actually go in and allow the breath work to happen. And so I think it's important to give everyone a bit of an understanding of what stress management can look like, and the other things that you can do besides going into a meditative type space as well. So one of the biggest things I think before you can do anything is to actually schedule time for yourself to actually make the change happen, because you can't just You can't just actually start doing stress management on top of all of the other things that you've got going on, because then you're actually going to create another stressful situation. Like, oh my God, I haven't done this yet. I need to do some stress management. Oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? I can't keep still. And, you know, your mind's just going to be completely out of control and you're going to feel overwhelmed. So it's going back and looking at your schedule and seeing if you're using that time efficiently. So it doesn't mean, okay, where can I find time and where can I add more stuff on? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, where are the times in the day where you're spending your time doing external things or overcommitting yourself or over-promising to do things for friends or relationships or workplaces or whatever that might look like, that you should be using for yourself, so you can create a space. It doesn't have to be very long, but it needs to be consistent so that you're able to check in with yourself regularly and do something that's going to calm your central nervous system down. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And I want to talk about a couple of things that are in line with that. One is that we actually get chemically addicted to the hormones of stress.
100%.
Right?
Yep.
So those people that can't sit still and actually do like a silent meditation, it's almost like as if you have given a child a bag of lollies and expect the child to sit in the corner. Impossible. Yep. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You got to realize that you have primed your body to have this chemical cocktail that makes you feel alert and stressed and on edge and sort of like on guard all of the time. So incorporating on a regular basis little activities that are constantly giving the signal to the body to slow down is your cue to start the process. And that might be like putting a little alarm and doing deep belly breathing 3 times during the day, throughout the day, and that could be 30 seconds. Every single time that you are slowing down your breathing rate on demand with conscious awareness, you are telling the body, I am safe. And stress is telling your body, I am not safe. So this is where I want everyone to take responsibility for their own action and for what they have created, and understand that you now just need to implement little things. So starting small and allowing yourself to just kind of navigate and explore. You might not like going to a meditation class, or you might not like having a massage, but maybe you might do like a 5-minute breathing exercise that you found online. And, you know, that's better suited to your personality or your time frame. Mm-hmm. I want you to be flexible, because one of the reasons we get stress is because we get rigid in our thinking as well.
Yeah. So, or that I can't do this.
Exactly.
Or I've tried before and it hasn't worked for me. I know.
Right? So
yeah.
I tried it, and it's like you need to try something for a good period of time until it forms into a habit for it to actually work properly, because once again, we get addicted to these chemicals. So we need to override that chemical cocktail by creating and secreting chemicals that are going to be conducive to slowing your central nervous system down and conducive to allowing the body to heal. Mm-hmm. There is no way your body will digest properly or heal tissues and muscles and fibers if it feels that it is being threatened.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. The other thing is that high achievers and type A personality people that are on the go all the time, they might not actually feel stressed, or they may need to keep themselves busy all the time, and it might be with things that we would classify as good, like meditation, great nutrition, great exercise, but they're so rigid about it that the rigidity actually causes stress.
Yeah.
So that's really important in a world where we're sort of being bombarded with, you got to be fit and you got to, you know, have keto or this or that. Like that can, and you got to recycle absolutely everything, and you have to, you know, be kind and do, you know, it can be like a hell of a lot of pressure,
yeah,
right?
Totally. You got to have flexibility in there, and you don't have to stick to everything all of the time. Like
give it a red hot crack like we had. Let's think we said in another episode, like give it a decent go so that you can actually know, is this working for me?
Yes.
And if so, stick to it for a period of time. Set yourself up for success with small achievable things. One of the things that will help you to step out of stress is celebrating small wins. Like, awesome, I did 5 minutes of breathing in my car before I got out of my car and into my home so that I can be more calm and present for my family when I get there.
Yeah.
That's a win.
That's a great win.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. And so if we're thinking about practical things that people can do, I mean, I have a list here. Of course I do.
Of course you do.
Of course. But meditation and mindfulness aside, I mean, what we want to do is keep our central nervous system calm. And so that's making sure the things that we smell, the things that we hear, the things that we see are calming to us. So when we get home, we want it to be a calm environment. So we want to have nice smells in the house, nice peaceful music if we can. So just sounds and instrumentals, things without words, things that aren't aggressive. If we're listening to the TV, we don't want to be watching highly stimulated TV shows, horror movies, scary movies, all those things that really do trigger an adrenal response. Because believe it or not, you can have a full-on response to scary thrillers, and all sorts of different TV shows do create a response in you. So having things around you that look nice calming environment as well. So
decluttering is really important as well.
So if you're walking into a space that is constantly cluttered with lots of stuff, it's incredibly stressful. Things everywhere, not put away. That in itself, to me, my hubby knows, like, I have to have a clean, when my house is messy, and I'm not saying it doesn't ever get messy, because it absolutely does. I have a 5-year-old child, and she goes in like a little tornado. Well, it is her fault. She goes in like a little tornado.
You're messy too sometimes.
And so we're in a routine now. I'm like, okay, Charlotte, well, if you pull that out, then you have to make sure you pack it back before you pull out any more toys, because, otherwise it just ends up in a mess. We've only got a small house. So things for me.
And you can see how stressed children get when they can't find something.
Yeah,
right?
or they don't know what they're looking for because they're only little, and they don't know what it is they want to play with. They can't find their toys.
And sometimes we are no different to children. Like when we can't find something that we need because we have so much mess, it is stressful. One of the things that I really encourage people to do and I did research on environmental psychology, right? The effects of how environments, both natural and built environments, affect our mood and our cognitive capacities, and it actually has a huge impact on our ability to function properly. So making sure that wherever you arrive at home, whether you arrive through your garage or whether you arrive through the front door, it's a beautiful place. Like, that is not a place to put all of your shoes, right? Because your mind doesn't sort of compute these are shoes, right? We're like a shoe-free house. It doesn't compute that. It just computes mess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So having like a beautiful space to arrive to, and having allocated spaces for things that could be classified as clutter, really helps your brain to process information better. And we have to remember that we are multisensory beings. So everything Tracey has just said is spot on. The sounds give a frequency and vibration into the brain to make it either alert or more relaxed and soothing. The conversations, the food we eat as well, how much sleep we get, the environments that we're in, the people we're in, all of these things really affect the way that your brain is constantly processing information.
And so if I think about a few more things for our listeners, it would be, especially if you're a creative person or you're someone that is a type A and you do want to explore some more of your creative side, write in a journal, write a story about your day, dump all of that excess energy and all of that stimulation that you've gathered through the course of the day and pop it down into a book and externalize it and get it out of your body. Read a lighthearted book. So nothing that's too intensive. It doesn't matter if you're one of those people that, loves to just kind of chill out with a bit of reality TV. If it's lighthearted and doesn't mean you have to think too hard, that's actually a great way to bring down your stress levels as well. If you're someone that wants to do some gentle exercise, don't go for big, vigorous cardio workouts. Keep it simple. Go for a walk, have a picnic, do some yin yoga and some stretching.
Jump on a trampoline.
Yeah, perfect. Just have a little jump on the trampoline. And then enjoy your time with yourself. Take yourself to a movie, right? Go and have breakfast by yourself and people watch. There's these things, just simple, small things. Take yourself away for a few nights. Get away from everybody else. And I don't mean go with your partner or, your family or your kids. I mean go away by yourself and just be with yourself.
And we're very aware that a lot of people struggle with this. So if you're listening to any of this stuff and you're going, oh, there's no way in hell I would be able to do that, write to us. Right? We really encourage our listeners to write to us because there are ways of incorporating small steps. I generally say to, the people that I work with, you want to be doing two things. One is dumping cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And exercise is a great way of dumping cortisol, right? So, sometimes you do want to break out of sweat, even if it's just 5 minutes of skipping or jumping on a trampoline or star jumping in front of your favorite song and just being silly and laughing at yourself in front of the mirror, right?
Yeah.
The other thing you want to do is you want to slow your central nervous system down. And I suggest that people do that with soothing music, deep breathing, meditation, having energy work.
Ooh, candles.
Candles,
oh my God, I love
and
candles.
smells are really
ambient
soothing.
lighting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful.
Right? So I want you to think about those two things as your priority when you are looking at stress management. How can I release cortisol, right, through exercise? And how can I calm down my central nervous system through something that is soothing and nourishing? We need to remember that stress makes us feel unsafe. What makes you feel safe? It might be a really nice fluffy blanket wrapped around you with a nice warm cup of tea, listening to the rain. It might be a shower. It might be writing, positive affirmations, whatever rocks your boat. Figure those things out and
try things, right?
Absolutely. Try new things. Yeah. Absolutely. And sometimes you might even want an accountability partner just like you do with exercise. Sleep is absolutely crucial. We bang on about sleep and nutrition all of the time.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely crucial to keep all of your organs functioning well and for you to be able to have that rest and restore time in the evening. So call up a friend that you know is also stressed and say, hey, maybe we can just do a meditation. I did this with a girlfriend the other day, like a couple of months ago. We just dedicated 10 days to this particular meditation technique.
Yeah.
And we'd send a text message and go, hey, I just finished. How are you doing? Send a few words. And it was just touching base, right? It was just knowing the other person was doing it with you.
Yeah.
And there's a real sense of sort of companionship and support that goes with that. And that sense of companionship and support lowers stress.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny you say that because I do something with my hubby a couple of times throughout the week, and that's after our daughter goes to bed at 7:30, we light the candles and we sit down and we have quality time, and that's just a place where we create a safe environment where we can communicate about what's happened during our day, anything that we wanted to bring up. So those things where you really want to talk to your significant other through the course of the day, say something's come up and you really need to have a chat with them, instead of interrupting them or, pulling that sort of conversation out at a random time when they might not be open to have that conversation with you, creating a space of quality time where you can actually communicate effectively is a great way to feel heard and listened to. So obviously intimacy is very important as well. So
and that can be a great way of stress relief if you are in a loving consensual relationship, obviously, right?
Absolutely.
So absolutely, these are biological functions of the body that help us to release stress. So absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And communication and being heard and feeling that sense of connection is just so important.
So I feel like we've got to about 30 minutes, but hopefully that's given everybody a bit of a head start on some stress management tools and tips that you can take away. And I feel like this is only probably part one of many different series, because I've got like a whole heap of notes here that we didn't even get to.
Nerd.
I know. But anyway, if you have any questions, please write them in. We'll be doing our next Q&A segment very soon. So we've got quite a few questions already coming through, but we are very eager to get back to all of you. So if you have any questions, just send them through and we'll do our absolute best to get back to you as quickly as possible.
And in the meantime, make sure that you are calming yourself and releasing that cortisol and being really lovely and calm and
amazing. Kind. Yay. Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Thanks for listening.
The information, views and opinions expressed on this podcast should not be used or treated as a substitute for nutritional, medical, psychological or other advice by a qualified health professional. Hosts and guests on the podcast express their own opinions, experiences and conclusions. Nothing in the podcast should be used to diagnose, treat, cure or prevent any medical condition. The podcast is not intended to replace any medical or mental health treatment. All information and advice provided is for general well-being and does not take individual cases into consideration. Neither Tracey Soltis, Kali Alfaro, or any sponsor endorse the opinions, views or conclusions expressed or shared on the podcast. Tracey Soltis and Kali Alfaro take no responsibility for any symptoms or consequences as a direct or indirect result of the podcast.